Hi, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Arkariem with Karie Gonia and Edgar Stephens. Today, we will be discussing a topic or subject from the point of view of head, heart, and spirit in the form of a question. Before we get to that question, we are going to introduce ourselves. Karie, can you please tell everyone who you are?
Hi, everyone. My name is Karie Gonia, and I am a facilitator in a therapy called Family Constellation Therapy. I help people clean up ancestral trauma.
And I am Edgar Stephens. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I offer my services to individuals, to corporations, and to nonprofit organizations as a coach and consultant. Together, we are Arkariem, and Karie is going to ask our question today.
My little Libra heart is so excited about this one. I am curious, Mr. Stephens, what is work-life balance, and how can we bring more balance into our lives?
So work-life balance, this is something that I get asked about quite often, actually. I do a lot of work in corporations, and sometimes people are working 12, 14-hour days. I happen to know that there's a person on this actual recording who has very blonde hair, not gray hair, who sometimes has difficulty with her work-life balance because she has so much work and so many people coming to her. And I think we all know who I'm talking about. And so work-life balance is really, and there's not just a finite answer to this one. Work-life balance is about the work in both your personal life and your professional life, feeling that it's at a point that you're enjoying both. So here's what I mean by that. So this is the part that people sometimes go, well, wait a minute, what do you mean enjoy work? So I know not everyone enjoys their work. I enjoy my work. I know Karie enjoys her work. But it's about having enough of the work that you feel like you have purpose, that you feel like you have appreciation for the other people with whom you're working, that you have an appreciation for your own time, that you have an appreciation for whatever funnel is coming through that, whether that's the pay or that's the recognition or the achievement or whatever it is, having enough of that coming through that you feel like you're always sharpening your skills and moving out of your comfort zone, and yet enough of a balance in the personal life that you feel like you've got time away from that so that the mind, the heart, the spirit can process the work that you've been doing. Because if it is all work and no play, if there's no balance in that, if it's all work and it's no play, we start to either resent our work, we start to become lazy with our work, we can become sloppy with our work, we can hide in our work. I know people who do that. I've done that one. We can hide in our work, like put everything into the work so you don't have to deal with some of the other stuff. And the work-life balance actually allows you enough time to be able to process and take a look to say, how do I want to improve upon this work? How do I want to do it differently? How do I want to create something new in the work? What new skill do I want to offer? Do I want to limit some of the hours? Do I want to take more vacation time? If we are constantly in our work, we don't really have time to ask ourselves these questions, and we end up in a place of exhaustion. And so for me, work-life balance is all about finding that space where I'm excited to come back to the work feeling fresh, and where I'm excited to end the work and be like, okay, I did a very, very good job with that. The way that we access that balance is by constantly tapping into, how do I feel in this moment? Coming back to the present moment. How do I feel in this moment? Does not mean that every moment of your work, there are going to be frustrating moments that you're going, wow, I feel great about my work. It's simply about knowing that you will overcome this challenge, just like you do with all of the others, knowing that you're going to get time to process and step away from it, because decisions should never be made at a time when we are highly emotional, highly reactive, and also knowing that if we took too much time away, we'd be chomping at the bit to get back to some form of work. That's what work-life, to me, that's what work-life balance is, and that's how we access it.
I have kind of a follow-up question. You just sparked something deeper. How do you think that the pandemic has shifted work-life balance at all? A lot of the population was in corporate environments and then working from home. Have you seen that shift with your clients at all?
I have seen a shift during the pandemic. And here's the interesting part. You would think that working from home, people might work a little bit less, but that's
Yeah,
not been
no,
the case.
yeah,
People are working more. And the reason why, and I'm one of them too, that Karie, I know you are too, there isn't a separation between the
yeah,
home life
yeah.
and the work life. We go to another room in the house, we do our work, or we sit at the kitchen table or whatever it may be, and we do our work, and then we don't know when to close up. It becomes too easy then to go right back over to the workplace or to move it into the living room and sit there, maybe turn on a show and then do a little bit of work, which maybe doesn't have quality of work, or to be more accessible because everyone knows you're not going out anywhere, you're not
Yep.
doing other things around the world. So it's almost expected that you are more accessible, or we are more accessible than we were before the pandemic. So I'm actually seeing a worse work-life balance. Now, even as I say that, for people who are involved in a lot of other activities, oh, always go out on Thursdays with my friends. I do trivia, trivia Mondays with my friends when we were going out, or on, go to the movies, once a week, whatever the thing may be. I eat out, once a week, whatever the thing may be.
Mhm.
What we're finding is if there's not been a lot of other things to focus on, a lot of focus goes back into the work. It's like,
Yeah,
well, at least that's one thing
yeah.
that I can kind of control. Can't
Mhm.
control, what's happening in the world, can't control any of this other, stuff going on. So let me put all of my focus into work. So then the hours of work become elongated and the weekend can become about work. And then, this is one you can speak to, Karie, there are a lot of people who felt like they were not doing enough. The word lazy would come up, like,
Mhm.
and it's like, why do you think you're being lazy? You're still putting in all these hours. Yeah, but I'm not having to get up and get in the car and get to the place and then get home and do that. Oh, you've got less things to do. So you feel like you should be putting more of that time into your work. So then the work life balance, again, it gets lopsided because we feel like we owe it to be more productive or more in our work. And one of the things that I would say is that's actually a moment to say, hey, can I do more of the things that my inner child would enjoy doing? Can I do more of the things that, creative, fun, that type of thing? What have you found in terms of clients and yourself with work-life balance?
Yeah, I was just thinking that about the inner child because in family systems, ancestrally, overworking can be a trauma response. It's definitely a generational program of like, stay in a job, you stay in it for 30 years and you keep your head down and you grind it out and you just survive. And so I see that a lot myself. I'm definitely recovering type A overachiever, overworker, because it was instilled in me in such a young age of like, work hard, be respectful, like having that integrity and that work ethic was everything in my family. And it's taken me, I come from a corporate background, it's taken me a really long time to get out of that. And unfortunately, my health, I had to suffer through a pretty big trauma with my health in order to wake up and find like, oh, you need that balance. You can literally damage your body, your emotions, your field, if you were always in the space of giving and overworking and not resting and receiving. And it's been really interesting in the past year to see how that stillness and that balance, that kind of forced balance, how it has really triggered people, really triggered like survival mechanisms, worth mechanisms, myself included. And part of, I mean, you tease me about overworking, but part of it is I'm so lucky that people trust me enough to go into their family systems, which is super sacred. So I just want everyone to know about FCT, and I get so excited and I want to help all the people. But sometimes if I'm not careful, by Friday, I'm a zombie, and so I have to be very conscious of boundaries and very conscious of my time, because more often than not, for 8 hours a day, I'm in a channeled state.
It's a great point that you make, because boundaries is one of the things that I talk with people about in terms of time and space. And so for all of us that are working from home, which is most of us, one of the things that I always say is, if you can be in another room and shut the door, do. If you cannot be, shut down the computer, turn
Yeah.
it off, close it up, put it far away from you. I feel the same way about the phone. I know that we are in a different, world now, but I am very big. I'm actually very good about this. My phone will go away, and it's like, nope, I turn it off. Or Yeah, I don't start checking my messages until I've been up for an hour in the morning and had my time. So I think that you have to create a separation, a boundary
Yeah.
between your work in your home and your personal space. And the smaller your space is, the harder that becomes because your work is just right there in front of you. So you feel like, well, it's sitting there, it's calling to me. It's almost like when you see, if you're trying to eat differently and you've got a chocolate cake sitting there on the table, you see chocolate cake, chocolate cake, chocolate cake. Guess who's going to be eating that chocolate cake? Same sort of thing. But in this case, it's your computer, it's your work. Well, let me just do this one thing. I did it. I'm going to admit it. I did it last night. Thought I'm going to go on for half an hour and get this thing done. 2 hours later,
Yeah.
there I was sitting there
Yeah.
doing it because it's so much easier to do it because we don't have that separation. So for anyone that's listening, take that separation, shut it down, close it down, have your hours, stick to those hours as if you are in the workplace, as if you could not take your work computer home with you. Do it for your sanity and do it for that work-life balance, because isn't it wonderful to think, well, I closed down at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever it is. And I don't know what might be waiting for me at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock for some people in the morning. Enjoy that as part of the experience rather than, oh, let me check one more time before I go to bed. No. You check one more time before you go to bed. There's going to be an email or two or three, and you feel like, oh, I need to respond to that. Now it's 11:30, and you're going to get up at 6 or whatever the thing may be. It is a cycle that does not end. Work-life balance is about being excited to come back to it, not, oh my God, I've got to come back to it. That's when we hit a place of exhaustion.
And some of these patterns are habitual. Like when I was in corporate, I had 2 BlackBerries. It was expected if it went off at 1 a.m., you had to respond within X amount of minutes. And so it's like some of that programming is habitual. Can you even imagine? I can't even imagine living like that anymore. But, you know, a lot of people do, and especially with social media and all the digital stuff that we're exposed to. So I agree. Like if you can't have a separate space, it's like, take a break, go outside, go for a walk, like have lunch, like having that separation, I think is key.
So with that separation, if you'd like to separate from your work and you would like to a little more balance, you can always talk to us about how to do that. You can ask us for questions or topics to talk about by writing to talk2arkariem@gmail.com. That's TALK, the number 2, arkariem@gmail.com. And ending our beautiful work-life balance, Karie always takes us out with some wonderful thought, tool, tip, or something to think about in terms of balance. Karie, can you take us out with something wonderful about balance?
Most of the time, overworking, again, comes from a generational program, but it also comes from a pattern of overworking to prove that you're worthy enough of being seen and taking up space. So this week, you are enough, feel into your enoughness and have that separation.